Welcome to the Ransom House podcast. My name is James Ransom. Today, my guest is Nicole Perrault.
Hi.
Am I saying that correctly?
You are.
I should have asked you beforehand. She is the owner, president of Haus of Design, and we're going to get into that, and has a lot more on her plate, which is why I wanted to speak with her so much today. I don't know, inspirational person, super young, has her shit together, and that drew me to it. So,
Yay, well, thank you.
I'm just going to ask you a couple little
Go for it.
questions about your background.
Whatever you want to know.
If you can, real quick before we start, get a little bit closer to the mic. Feel free to pull it so you don't have to sit awkwardly.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. So you own a design company.
I do.
I'm just going to go ahead and ask you to elaborate on what you do, because
Cool.
I see you doing commercial projects, like you were, assisting with the whole BoxHaus aesthetic.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of tell me a little bit more about what it is that
Yeah.
your company's currently doing?
So we do residential commercial design. We do hospitality. We actually specialize in boutique fitness. So that's BoxHaus. We just did Moxi in Costa Mesa. We've done a few restaurants around Social HB. We're working on one in Old Town Orange right now. And then we're also working on a multifamily, which is Downtown Huntington, which is really exciting. It's actually our first one. We also do high-end luxury residential design. So that's new construction, remodels, really whatever the client wants, along with custom furnishings. We really try and be as all-inclusive as possible. So it really just depends what someone wants.
So when you say high-end residential,
Yes.
where does your company fit in between, are you essentially acting as an interior designer?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're an interior design firm. We have contractors, general contractors that we work with on a daily. So if we had someone come to us and was like, hey, do you have someone that you can trust and recommend? We do have people that we work with. We have about 3. And you can get multiple bids. And then we work hand in hand with them to make sure the design is executed properly.
Okay.
That's very clear just because I'm not a licensed GC, but we're very heavily involved in the construction aspect as far as going onto the job site, making sure, the grout joints are correct, the grout color, giving the proper spec book to the GC so that they can do their job properly is really important.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you contact people more through who your general contractors set you up with or bring you on, or do you also market to actual homeowners individually?
Homeowners, for sure. I would say we get most of our clients from social media or by word of mouth. We don't really do any marketing except through social media.
Okay.
I think it's really important to be consistent with that just because people do like seeing what we are doing and it's a way to show our jobs. But yeah, it's really through word of mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot like real estate.
Yeah.
It's like, you see those people that run tons of ads, but you never really see the listing signs up.
No. Yeah, I don't
And
do
vice
that.
versa.
We do merch. That was one thing that I did in the very beginning, and I think the merch translated really well just because I did buy quality merch, and so people actually enjoy wearing it.
I gotcha.
And so that kind of showcased around town, and people were like, wait, I've seen that before. What is that? So that kind of worked.
Yeah, I didn't think about that too much. I made hats, and they were like the worst fitting hats on the face of it. I have some if you want to give them away. They want to sit in. Yeah.
Send them out.
Yeah, and so that was an issue. And
Yeah.
then I started looking into, okay, I'm going to need to, mark it
It's
up,
the
do
quality.
some really nice, Lululemon stuff. And, it might be $7,
expensive.
$8 a piece
Yeah.
for a hat versus
It
$2.
is.
But
Yeah.
if
It's
people
good,
are actually
though.
wearing it, it kind of solves that problem.
It does.
Okay, so how did you get into design? Was that something you've always wanted to do? Did you work for that, since you were younger?
No. So I actually did not know what I wanted to do at all. I had no idea. I've always been creative. I was actually an art teacher for about 8 years in fine arts down on the peninsula in Newport, and did sculpture, oil paintings, ceramics, anything along those lines. And then I started working at a design studio as the retail girl. And I was just there and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. My aunt's actually an interior designer in LA. And she's like, you should get into interior design. I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
So you were like an artist at heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, but I wanted to be in an industry where I could profit and not be like a starving artist.
Yeah.
Right. And then I started working for that company, and then I started taking a few classes, and I have 11 years of working experience, and I have my AA degree in interior design. School is like not my forte. It's kind of funny to me, but everyone has their balances in life.
Yeah, I think we're kind of changing in society a little bit to where people are realizing you don't need the formal education to go and do these jobs.
Yeah.
And in fact, it actually can be a waste of time.
Yeah, just a lot of money, honestly, just in school. And I feel like there's so many resources now that, Google,
YouTube. I've learned so much just off YouTube videos.
For like things that are really important. I think obviously knowing space planning and clearances and like code and things like that are obviously really important. And you need, especially in commercial and ADA and whatnot. But I don't know. There's a lot of things.
I gotcha. Well, it's cool. You were able to find an outlet to still kind of express the artistic side of you.
Yeah.
While actually making a little bit of money too.
Yes. So no, it's been really good. I like it. I like what I do.
Yeah. So how big is your team, your design team?
So we have 15 girls. It's hectic in the best way possible. Yeah. It is definitely a full office. We don't have any private offices, so everyone is in there. You saw it the other week. And then we have 6 interns. We have the internship program so that hopefully we can hire. And it's really, really nice because it allows them to train or get some experience in the industry if they don't have any. Again, working experience. I'm really big on that.
Yeah, are a lot of the interns like currently enrolled in design schools?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So a lot of them are currently in design school or need actually an internship. And some honestly just want to see if it's even a career that they want to pursue. Yeah. So it's nice versus like signing up for all of these courses and then you're like, I don't actually want to do this.
Right.
So we do it for about 3 months. And it's a commitment from me to them and them to us. So it's good.
So at the end of 3 months, is that kind of like the defining moment on whether you think you can extend their career?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's up to them, obviously, what they want to do. But at that point, typically about a month and a half in, if we feel like it would be a good fit for the company, we start training them on a more intense level so that when we do or are ready to bring them on as a design assistant, they can hit the ground running and feel confident in what they're doing. Yeah. But some people honestly just want experience, and then that's what it is. So it's really what they want to make out of it, and I level set that from the very beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's any surprises that come up at the end of that period.
Like, if you want to be here, and if you don't. I can't force something on someone.
So you have 15 girls, and how does that divide it up? So you said about 4 or 5 interns on average?
So right now I have 6 interns, and that's outside of our actual staff.
Okay.
So
I didn't see anybody. When I went to your office and everyone's in like the work pit, is what I'm going to call it.
It's like, literally a work pit.
Yeah, I walked in, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. They're actually doing shit.
Yeah, they work so hard. But I think it's, they love what they do, and we have a very positive environment, and we all lift each other up, which I think is really important. So we have myself. I'm a senior designer. We have lead designers, junior designers, design assistants. We actually have a whole admin back office that deals with, the nitty-gritty, black and white, the billing, accounting, dealing with our lawyer,
you have your
CPA.
Transaction coordinators behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice because then the designers can really focus on designing. We didn't used to have that. And so it was really hard because one day you'd come into the office and you'd be focusing on, cool, I'm designing this beautiful house, and wait, did this check get allocated properly?
Yeah.
So
you get distracted.
It's hard.
And it's hard when you have to go from wearing one hat to something on the complete opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And then just I can't go from being super salesy, not going to be like, okay, let's crunch numbers right this second. It's just not going to work.
It's not. It's a different brain. Yeah. So no, it's hard. But yeah, so we all work together on our jobs. That's why we have so many girls, is there's not just one designer on a job. So there's always a lead, junior, and design assistant on each job, sometimes more, depending on the scope of work and the square footage and whatnot. It keeps it collaborative.
Okay. Now, is that also kind of to help take a little bit of pressure off the lead designer from doing a billion things?
Yeah, it is.
And they're learning the grunt work. Kind of like what I would do if I hired someone new. It's like they're knocking doors and making cold calls.
Yeah.
But then I don't have to. But
they're
gaining the experience, and it all kind of contributes to the ultimate goal of us, finding more leads.
It's honestly exactly that. So, when you started in your industry, right, it's the nitty gritty. It's the cold calling. It's literally the door knocking. You got to learn it.
You got to understand how it starts from the ground up.
You do. And if you don't, then it's just like you kind of come in and it's a misfit. So That's why there is the internship to design assistant. If they have previous experience, and obviously they'd be hired at a different level. But the design assistant is really truly order processing, doing the start of the mood boards, spec books, things like that, so they can understand what the contractor is going to need to see and what they should start looking for on job sites. Junior designer is really, they're super involved in designing, overlooking and learning how to delegate properly, because that's the biggest thing, is learning how to delegate.
Right.
It's very hard for everyone.
You can't let go of control.
You
It's
can't
really
let
hard.
go of control. But learning how to delegate and manage a project. And then lead designer is always meeting with the client, talking to the client, being involved, being on the job, making sure the design is executed properly, overseeing their team for whoever's on that job, and bringing it to fruition. So again, everyone has their role, but everyone gets to be a part of the design process, which I think is really important, because at a lot of design firms, only the lead designer gets to design and everyone else just does the grunt work.
Oh, so they don't get to do the fun
They
stuff.
don't get to do any fun stuff. So at House of Design, you get to do both.
Yeah, I think it's important to show people like
It
the
is.
fun side, or like this is where you get to be after you make it through
Yeah, or people
the
leave.
trenches. Yeah,
Yeah, and you want longevity.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time having to retrain people all the time. I know we talked about that
It's
a little
a
before we
lot.
started. But
It's a lot of work.
so I thought it was really smart that you started integrating other industries into what you're currently doing, just because they're so closely aligned. So you started a staging company,
did.
which I just thought was brilliant, because I mean, you already have the eye for the design.
Thank you.
It's just a matter of, getting some inventory and coordinating
It's
the moving back and
coordinating,
forth.
yeah, the back and forth, and to be honest, like expanding our network and to be able to work with people like you, right? And I think it's really important, just because we already have access to all of these resources, and our design, it's so by the inch to quarter of an inch to like, it's just so nitty gritty. And with staging, it doesn't have to be that tight. So it's a lot simpler. But doing it on an organized level where, you don't just have a truck showing up to your listing, like making sure you look good and you know what's showing up, and you can communicate properly to your client, and it's scheduled, and it's white glove delivery, and it's a uniform, and it's organized, it's cohesive, versus who is this lady showing up with this truck full of furniture, flying out the back with pillows? Like, what is happening? No.
It's very by the fly by your seat of the pants kind of style, where they show up, well, maybe let's try this here. You know what? And I'm just like, couldn't you have planned this? And I think you were telling me, are you using CAD,
Yeah,
AutoCAD?
we are,
And then you can actually place the furniture in there, see
do.
what looks best. And when you show up, it's labeled, it knows where it's going. And the homeowner doesn't have to deal with, okay, we really have to spend an extra hour while you
Correct.
rearrange furniture.
Correct. So
that
the
I may not
realtor
even
gets
like
to approve
because
it.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and so our job is really to make you look good. It's really to make the realtor look good, because we want to
Realtors
show,
like that.
right? You already put in so much grunt work on the front end, and like you need to make sure that like all of this work that you've done like will pay off, and to make sure that relationship is a long relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like a repeat client.
Every other person that comes in to assist with the transaction's a reflection of that realtor.
Yeah.
It's like if you have a bad photographer, it's going to reflect poorly on you.
Correct.
If you have a bad stager, something along that line like messes up with their vision of who they thought they hired, it's hard to get that back.
It's really hard to get back trust.
It's like the old saying. Yeah, it takes years to build, seconds to break.
Literally, it does. So, but yeah, so we implement AutoCAD. We actually jump on like a 20-minute Zoom call with you and do a shared screen, and you can see the layout, so you don't actually have to
that's
drive
awesome.
anywhere or meet. It's just really quick. And then everything's broken down by an item along with an image. And then that way, if you're like, hey, I actually would love to switch out this sofa, or you know what, I don't want to do a wood dining table. I would really love to do a glass dining table so that it can open up the space more. Are you okay with that? Sure. Then we'll just table that conversation and talk about, the reasons behind it. And then it's swapped before showing up to the job. And then you know what's going into the house.
Yeah, and I think that's where all industries in real estate, design, everything, it's like the less friction, the faster you can do something, the more efficiently.
Correct.
Like the more business you're going to get, and everyone else is just going to kind of get left behind. So I think that's rad that you're doing that. It's first time I've heard of a staging company doing that.
Thank you.
And a design company. I know, people send AutoCADs, but
Yeah.
it's usually like way later in the process than
It
I think
is.
a lot of developers and realtors would like.
It
'Cause, like,
needs to
we
be in the
almost-
beginning.
You do. You need to start understanding and like coming up with how you want to sell a specific property.
Yeah.
But you need to know what it looks like to do that.
For sure. And if you don't, then how are you supposed to succeed in that
You
environment?
can't. You just kind of, I don't even know what I would do in that situation.
But
Other than just being like, oh, I just twist it. It's a secret.
it's a secret. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
now there's,
secrets in the industry.
Exactly. And people get excited about the exclusivity, but it's like other than like having something seem secretive or exclusive, there's really no other way to market something you don't know.
No, yeah. And also to make sure that people understand it, I think is the biggest thing too. It's like you want people to feel comfortable. And so if everything's so exclusive and so private, it's like, what is happening? What's showing up?
Yeah.
What's going on? And yes, you want things to be elevated, but at the same time, like you want, your consumer or like your end user to like really understand what's going on in their space so that they're comfortable with you.
Right.
I think that's really important.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about ShoreHouse a little.
Let's talk about it.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited.
So, ever watching this, I mean, you may or may not know, she's going to be the designer. I'm the realtor. We're both working with the developer, contractors to get one of the nicest buildings constructed downtown Huntington Beach. It's going to be 20 luxury condos, luxury flats.
So excited.
With 3 commercial spaces on the first level. And we're going to have a rooftop terrace. Like, it's going to, I cannot say like enough awesome things about this, but I'm not supposed to divulge too much information quite yet. So it's like, I got to reel it in a little bit. How did you get in contact with the developer?
So I met Lauren and JP because they actually listened to another podcast. They reached out to us quite a few months ago and started that process. And then, yeah, they just came to my office one day to meet to kind of go over the job, and we ran through it, and then it just kind of unfolded from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was
I was
really
really
casual.
excited when he showed me, and I was like, oh my God, I follow her. And like,
I know, we
obviously
literally
from,
followed each other.
You've designed, a lot of, like you were saying, like commercial fitness industry stuff.
Yeah.
And I see that. I follow a lot of fitness accounts, so it always runs through. I'm just like, the girl that did BoxHaus is on
I
ShoreHouse?
love it.
Yes. Yeah, it was
Thank
just,
you.
we had someone we were working with, as you know.
Yes.
And just the process and the expectations weren't being met. And it was cool, and it would have been an okay fit, I think.
Yeah.
But it's just when there's so many moving parts and what your job is, like there's so many other jobs relying on what you're doing. It's
There's
like
so
everyone kind of
many.
needs to be on the same page. And I just feel like there was a couple little missing pieces on that
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, I think that's honestly really important, and it goes back to what we were talking about. So, with ShoreHouse, the level of luxury that it needs to be, an organization that it needs to be, like we really need to make sure we're hitting a certain demographic, right?
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's what's really nice of what's happening now, is there's true spec books, there's true mood boards, actually looking at, the construction documents, making sure that we're executing what the client wants. Just because Lauren and JP, they grew up in Huntington.
Yeah.
This is a very big deal to them. This is definitely a passion project as well. And they're so excited about it. So their heart's definitely in this to make sure that it translates properly for the community.
Right.
And, if the design doesn't translate properly from the beginning stage, then it won't translate in the end, and it won't come to fruition properly.
Yeah.
So I think just making sure that like designer and client are on board together is super, super important. And that just really comes down to communication and listening to your client's needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that was something that I noticed when JP and I were talking, and just how much he wanted to integrate ShoreHouse and luxury with the surf community and the history in Huntington Beach.
Yeah.
Like it was almost a little bit of a tricky line we had to walk.
Yeah.
Just because when you think like ultra luxury, Montage, Ritz-Carlton, you don't think like beach bum surfer.
No,
or
you
like,
don't. Yeah.
Or like, growing up and walking with my friends down to the beach to go surfing. It's like those two things. I'm like, okay, how the heck do we tie these together?
Yeah, exactly.
And so we've done some. You'll see things getting released in
Yep.
the next 6 months here, where you're like, okay, that's how they tied it in.
Yeah.
But like, I'm pretty excited to start releasing some of this info because, we basically took and integrated a lot of the surfers from the different decades throughout. Starting with like George Freeth back in. I think he was the first person to surf the pier when they tore it down and rebuilt it back in the early 1900s.
Which is crazy.
And so it just how it worked out with units A through G2.
Mm-hmm.
There was a famous surfer in every single decade whose name started with the letter of the models that we're doing. So I was like, we're going to brand them this way.
Yeah.
And it worked out perfectly.
There's just so many details that tie back to it. It's not like everything's really thought of in this. Yeah. And I think that's what's so important,
Well, just to your point, yeah, JP hired someone, an art designer, as you know, who's going to be building like this big, huge
So cool.
structure, but out of recycled material,
Yeah.
and it's going to have like the whale.
The
there's
whale
so
tail.
much like the
Yeah.
natural conservancy, like being able to be tied into that. And it's like you look across the street, and I've posted about this on like Instagram, like, can someone tell me what the fuck this thing is? And someone's like, it's a dolphin, it's a sunset.
It's really bad.
Yeah, it's like, it's what's it? The Hunger Games symbol. And I'm like,
it does look like that. Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like just because it's mandatory to put a piece of art in front of new constructions now downtown, it's just funny that now it's mandatory to put like an artistic piece in front of new construction.
Yeah.
I feel like people are just like, they don't really give a crap about it.
It's
But
not
they don't
too
put any
much
thought
thought.
behind it.
Yeah.
No, it's just like, all right, let's have someone design this and we'll just stick it right here. And I feel like the city just, isn't really looking at that and going through reports and seeing how it's going to be tied in. And it's just kind of like, well, this is one more hoop we have to jump through here. Let's just, say this is art and put it up.
The whale tail will be really cool because it is modern and it is recycled material and it's clean. And I think that's the biggest thing that people should, be paying attention with design, especially in like commercial or anything that, is going to be seen by so many people, is you don't have to just put something out there, which is exactly what you're saying, because you have to do it, like actually put some thought into it,
right,
so that it translates for years' time and it's timeless versus something that just looks like crap.
Well, and the clean aspect too.
Correct.
When JP was showing me some of the past artwork this guy had done, it's not that it's not cool art, but when he's using like recycled rope and you get like the fray and it's starting to turn colors, I'm like, like, I don't know how that's going to reflect people walking into this, multi-million-dollar condo building, but from what he showed me with the stainless steel and everything,
it should be really cool.
It's going to be perfect.
It should be really, really cool.
So where are you looking to take your business? Are you going to continue to maybe look into bringing in different facets of the industry, like an architect? Are you looking at potentially bringing in someone inside for that, or would that not be beneficial?
I don't know. I feel like there's so many ways, and I think right now what's really important is being as inclusive as possible, right? Turnkey. Having that luxury service where if your client wants something, that you're able to provide that for them. And that's why I'm starting these two other companies outside of Haus of Design, so that we can really, design to the masses, but at the same time have a staging company. If you need someone to like come in and like do paint before you like do your listing, no problem, because we already do construction anyways and work with contractors, so it's really fairly easy.
Right.
And we coordinate all of that for you.
That's a huge value. Even though it's not much extra to you, it's
really,
a very big value to realtors.
Because then you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah,
and you have other things that you need to deal with.
Like Compass has their concierge program. Well, they'll pay for everything interest-free, but I still have to coordinate. I still have to go and meet people. I still have to, run different bids against each other for the owners. And you want to be white glove service, especially in these markets where
correct,
the lowest price house you're selling still almost $1 million.
Honestly,
it's a lot of money.
Orange County.
So you want to make sure that you're doing a good job and people are getting what they're paying for.
Honestly, and that's like the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing with us too is there is so much detail that goes into what we do, and I don't know that a lot of times people understand how much time it takes to do these things correctly. And I feel like, a lot of times people are like, oh, you do design, like you fluff pillows. No,
like, no,
I can't.
We karate chop pillows.
I karate chop them and they look great, and I like make sure the the inserts are good. But it's not just that; it's so much more. I think taking these next two companies and really growing them, I'm super excited about it. But I think it's just going to depend as time goes on. I think forming certain partnerships with people, I think, is really, really important. We already do so much custom furniture, so probably down the line I will probably do a furnishings line, just because it's very standard, and I've been doing it honestly for 11 years. So
you actually have people build out custom pieces every now and then? That's awesome.
We do it actually for about probably 90% of our clientele. Sectionals, bed frames, ottomans, literally everything.
It's all custom, or do you kind of create? Okay, I think I may have someone I can put you in touch with who does that.
So yeah, we do all of that. We can make anything out of wood, metal, acrylic, and upholstery, so fabric.
That's right.
So that's really most of our business.
You're already ready to go.
We already do it. I just need to do it. Yeah, I just need to do it. So, but yeah, I think just kind of watching as things unfold is the biggest thing, and being consistent.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you I think we got to wrap up here, but how can people find you?
Definitely through Instagram. Our Instagram is houseofdesign.hod. And then, I would say that's probably the best way. Maybe our website.
Yeah, Google search Haus of Design. And that's Haus, Haus.
It is, yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for having me.
Of course,
I'm so excited.
Thanks for coming on. I'm sure we'll do another before ShoreHouse gets up and running.
Yeah, we have to for sure. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Who will love you? Who will love you?